everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing a Christmas card with you that is coffee inspired. I'll be using some Clair stamps to make it too. A reminder, if you don't already, you can follow me on all of my social media links. Those are available in the description box below. Just click that little box to drop it down and you'll find all that information. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Onto the card. I am going to be making a card with the coffee Christmas coffee stamp set from Clair Stamps. I've used this before, and if you are new to this channel, all the supplies are going to be listed and linked down in the description box below. So if you have any questions about stamp sets, ink colors, that kind of thing, it's all down there so you can easily find it. Now, I like to pair this stamp a lot with the ugly sweater background from Clair Stamps. They go so well together, but I'm actually going to make this entire card today with just this one stamp set. I just wanted to show you that other one because I think it matches it so well, and I love using them together. So I want to start off with a background. Now, like I said, this whole card is going to be made with just this one stamp set. So I'm starting off with the little coffee beans. There are two different sizes. You've got a smaller one and a larger one. And you also have some holly leaves, both a small and a large one. I am stamping on a piece of heavyweight white cardstock that is A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm stamping my brown little coffee beans with some Catherine Pooler ink. That's icing on the cake. And then I'm stamping my holly leaves with my VersaFine Clair Green Oasis ink pad. I went ahead and chose that ink pad because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to color in my holly leaves when I first started this background. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use colored pencils, if I wanted to go ahead and use my markers, my watercolor markers, or if I wanted to use alcohol markers. So I know that these ink pads play well with all of those coloring mediums, so I chose that one just to be safe. I'm stamping down this background just by stamping a bunch of those different coffee beans. I'm doing them in threes, and then I stamp 2 little leaves just to fill in that background. Now I am covering this entire panel because I will have a little bit in the center covered up, but it's only going to be with vellum, so everything's going to show through. So I want to make sure that the entire background is covered here. There is quite a bit of white space with this. However, I will fill that in later on at the end of this video, so don't worry about all that white space. Just fill in where you can. Now, like I said, I wanted to go ahead and color in this background all of those holly leaves. I went ahead and decided to go with a colored pencil. I'm only using one here. I didn't want this to be too involved. You can add shading if you want. It would be gorgeous. However, I just didn't have the time to do that this night that I was working on it. So I am coloring in with just one colored pencil. This is my favorite way to color. It's super quick. I just like to color in with that one color, fill them all in. Then I come in with the blending stump and some OMS and smooth that out. This just gives me a nice smooth surface. It blends all that color together. You're not left with any pencil lines essentially. Now I'm using my OMS, Gamsol, whatever you want to call it, and a blending stump. You can also use a paintbrush if you want to. That works too, but I like to use these blending stumps. They're super easy. I've got a ton of videos on using this coloring medium. So once I went through all of those little holly leaves, I was left with this gorgeous background that is all colored in, ready to go. The coloring also hides any mistakes that I made with my background, so that's always a plus, because sometimes my stamping isn't the best. Now, for my little coffee cup, I am going to go ahead and start off with the outline. This is a 2-step stamp set. So you have your coffee cup that you can stamp just plain and color in any way you want to, or you have the option of adding those little sweater elements to the cup, which I'm going to do today. I'm using my Mini Misty because I am going to do a little bit of selective inking with my stamping and do some two-tone stamping for the inside. I stamped the outside of the cup with Memento Desert Sand ink, which is a very light kind of toffee colored ink. It's gorgeous. I love that ink for no line watercoloring, but I just wanted it to kind of blend in with my little sweater stamp. That's why I went ahead and went with that color today. Now for the inside, I'm going to do some selective inking. So I used masking tape, covered up the top and bottom portion of that cup, and just left the little strip that said Merry Christmas open. Then I inked up that stamp with some red memento ink that is called Ladybug, removed the tape, stamped it down, and then it's time to start stamping the rest of the ink, or the rest of the part that I didn't stamp the first time. So I covered up the Merry Christmas that I stamped with some masking tape, inked up my stamp with that same green Oasis ink that I used on the background, stamped it down once I removed the tape. Then I'll come back in, cover up the top portion of that cup, ink up the bottom, remove the tape. Don't forget to do that. I've done that so many times where I've forgotten to remove the tape and stamped it down, and I've been so mad at myself. Then you have to start all over. So just remember to remove the tape, stamp it down, and you've got this gorgeous two-tone image. Now I went ahead and fussy cut mine out. However, I do want to mention that if you have an electronic cutting machine and you buy Joy Clair stamps, you automatically get the SVG cut files for free. You don't have to do anything more. They're an automatic download. So if you have an electronic cutting machine, there's no fussy cutting for you. Now I wanted to go ahead and add a little bit of a vintage look. I thought this was a little bit too bright white for me, so I went ahead and grabbed my Catherine Pooler icing on the cake and a clarity brush. This brush gives me a lot more control. I can control the ink a little bit better with this, make it a lot lighter on the edges, and really blend that in towards the outside. It also puts such a nice thin layer of ink on the cardstock. It doesn't cover up any of the coloring or the stamping, so it doesn't build up on top like you sometimes get whenever you use your mini ink blending tool. I love that tool. I'm just a little bit too heavy-handed to use it for that technique. Now, I wanted to go ahead and create a little background for my cup to sit on. So I grabbed 2 rectangle dies. I'm going to use the largest one to go ahead and cut a piece of vellum. And then I'll use that same large one and inlay a smaller one from the same set right inside. That's going to create a frame. I'm cutting this with my Big Kick, and I'm using gold cardstock for this portion. Now once I pull this out, I'm going to be left with this nice golden frame that will fit my vellum piece. I like to use liquid glue to go ahead and put this on. It just gives me a little bit more wiggle room and play time to really get the frame exactly where I want it, and I can move it around without having to worry about ripping my cardstock at all. Now that vellum is going to soften up the background, but it's still going to allow it to show through. That just allows the coffee cup to be more of the focal point, but not cover up any of that work that I put on the background. I also wanted to add my sentiment to this panel, so I grabbed Merry Christmas. It is a builder sentiment in this stamp set, so I built up Merry Christmas, stamped it down with my mini Misty. I did prep my surface before, stamped it down with Versamark, and used Princess Gold embossing powder from Ranger, then heat set it. I've got this gorgeous gold sentiment now ready to go, and it matches my frame, which I love. For my little coffee cup, I went ahead and popped that up with some dimensional adhesive, and I'll pop that right in the center top of the frame onto the vellum. Once I had that in place, then I went ahead and added some more dimensional adhesive onto the back of that frame. Now with vellum, you need to go ahead and make sure that you have a place where you can hide some adhesive. That was my frame for me. I could have also put some where the coffee cup was. I didn't do that here. You could also make a shaker out of this if you wanted to, and that would be really pretty. I thought about it, but I just went ahead and left mine plain. I popped that right in the center, and then I went ahead and attached that panel to an A2 top folding white card base. Now I like to work on panels, that way if I mess up like I did on this one, I can flip the panel over, start on the other side, and it's not a big deal. If I was working on a card base, I'd have to start over with a whole new card base. So I like to attach my finished panels once I'm all done and I know I haven't made any mistakes. Now like I said before, I thought there was just a little bit too much white space on my panel. So what I decided to do was take some Nuvo drops. This is in the pale gold color, so it matches the gold embossing and the gold frame. And I just filled in all of those little white spaces, and that really brought the whole thing together. It allowed for all the kind of gold little elements to blend together on the card front by adding that little bit of gold to the background where there wasn't any before. Now to do the inside of the card, I'm going to use that same stamp set. It's got some great sentiments in it that are larger that fill the inside of your card. So I grabbed the May Visions of Coffee Beans Dance in Your Head, and I stamped that down with the same icing on the cake ink from Catherine Pooler that I used on the outside. Then I'm going to use that same ink to stamp some small coffee beans. I stamped 3 on each side, and then I'll grab the green Oasis ink that is Versifying Clair, and I'll go ahead and stamp down each one of my little holly leaves right on the outside of those. I did fill those in very quickly with my colored pencil that I used on the outside as well. I didn't worry about blending these in though, because they're so little, you couldn't really see any of my colored pencil markings. So I just let these be on the inside, and that finished off the card for today. There's a closer look at the inside. I love finishing off the inside of the card, kind of pulling the whole thing together. And one final look at the outside as well. That is going to do it for me today. There are links on the left side of your screen that you can click on. More videos from me over there. You can also subscribe to my channel over there. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. Thanks for watching today, and happy crafting!